Om Shri Sai Ram, offering our most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Shri Sai Baba. Let's begin this evening's offering by our and I request all of you, please. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram. It gives me a great joy. I'm filled with humility to, to be able to bring out these episodes. But we would like to put up a disclaimer, so to say, that we are in no way, because we're getting some very good response and feedback from all of you who are watching us. And we would like to put it up that we are no way as kind of a claim to be a scholar in Bhagavad Gita or any such scriptures per se. It's, you can say, our excitement, a joy, whatever little we have grasped and whatever little we are learning, our wish to share it with our larger community of brothers and sisters. And whatever little we have heard from Bhagwan, it is so funny that after years, decades, those things suddenly become alive in front of us and we realize, oh my God, this is what our Lord had been telling us. So, and we try to bring it as much as possible, those explanations behind the scenes, which we have witnessed, which we have somebody who can corroborate with that. And sometimes Bhagwan quotes in different places, need not be in his writing and need not be in his discourses also. He has guided many of us in different ways. So our humble request would be, please join this offering from that attitude that we are all co-partners in this journey, trying to learn and trying to bring this beautiful message. And if we can inspire few to read, to explore, that would be great. So having said that, let us begin this beautiful evening and Rama Gita. I know that we have been discussing this, so let me bring in my brother here, Sai Jagdish.
Sairam brothers. Sairam brothers and sisters. Sairam.
Sairam Jagdish. So
So,
Jagdish, we have been going through this. Yeah, please say. You want to say something?
no, go ahead, brother. Yes. After you finish. You are my elder brother.
Okay. Okay. No, I was just saying that, because we have been doing so much, this, and it's a heavy topic. So we wanted to make sure that we convey that feeling to everybody that, please join us. And we both, Kelsi Melisi, all of us can learn together and grow together from that
Yes.
perspective.
Yes.
So if you have to say, otherwise I'll just go as summary. I wanted to bring it a kind of a summary sheet today, just
Yes,
to
brother.
put everybody in the same page as to what we have discussed so far in Gita, in Ram Gita. Bhagavan Ram obviously starts with Atma, Atmic Gyan. He straight away hits on that. And for Atmic Gyan, we need Guru. The importance of Guru is mentioned. And here he brings in the scriptures as part of the Gurus. And there he says the Vedic knowledge is important. And he explains about the whole breakups of all the Vedas. Then he talks what do we achieve? There is mukti, and there are five types of muktis. And who is achieving it is Jivi. So the Jivi who is working towards it is also of two types. And then he looks at the Samadhi. He tells us about six kinds of Samadhis. And in that six kind of Samadhi, we have the Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa. That offers us Jivan Mukti. Savikalpa is of two types, Drisha and Shabda Anurid. And the next one is Nisankalpa, Nivritika, and Nirvasana, which is Vedeya Mukti. We're going to discuss it still a little bit more on that. These topics cannot be done so fast, but whatever little we can do in this time, we will try to do that. And then ultimately, he has spoken about Brahman, the three types of Brahman: Sagun, Nirgun, and Nirgunatit. And Nirgun also is of two types, and then Nirgunati. So we look at a little bit more on these aspects of Brahman and how each aspirant goes through each one of these things in their own pace. And the beauty is that we can achieve our muktis at every different stages. So this is how we have been summarized. So anything like to say, brother? Nidish, you want to add something?
No, no, brother, that's it. I think this is a very good summary of where we have what we have seen so far. Let us start with this. Maybe one prayer before starting such a very involved topic, that we have taken up. Again and again, reiterating that we are uh, we are not very qualified to talk about these kind of topics because they are very experiential in their nature, and and talking, so in fact the words cannot reach the beauty that these topics actually are. So having said that, I would like to uh, chant a small prayer before we start. योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. So this prayer is basically a small prayer where the prana shakti within is being likened to the Paramatma, the Chaitanya Shakti, which makes one capable of all the various actions that he performs. The otherwise sleeping words in my mind come active because of that Paramatma, and to that Paramatma I bow, and let us start, brother. Sairam.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think my internet is fluctuating today here. So bear with me, and if I kind of drop off, and then please take over from that point. Okay,
Sure.
so let us continue. And I'm happy that one of the brothers from the audience, viewers, had shared and reminded us about how Bhagwan has spoken about these three Brahman. See, the beauty of Bhagwan is also this, that he has simplified and he has given a contextual understanding of all of these things for us. So, in today's time, how do we look at it? And here he gave us these three Brahman, which we read it before: Sagun Sakar, Sagun Nirakar, and Nirgun Nirakar. This is how Bhagwan described it in this context for us, simplified it. So all that Sagun, Nirgun, and Nirguna Tita, he calls it Nirgun Nirakar. So that
Nirakar.
is how he has explained. But I would like to also remind, or just a word of caution, that all these Vedic literature or his guidance must always be looked at from a contextual point of view, because Bhagwan's words may even look contrary or contradictory to themselves. He may say one thing at one point of time and he may just reverse it in another place. And the beauty is he's right in both the sides, because he is talking from a different perspective and a different situation.
Exactly.
So
And to a
dharma
different
is like
audience.
a different audience. So it's a very dynamic learning. So unless we are clear about our basic concept, these variations of dharma, these variations of the scriptures may tend to confuse people. So we are open for discussions, and if anybody has any thoughts, any doubts, we can always look at it. But just to give you that idea, that Bhagwan's explanation also depends on the time, place, and circumstances. Who is he talking to? Okay, so he has not negated any of like earlier Gita's proclamations, but he has certainly given those explanations a, a dimension or a new a way of looking at it in today's context. So every sloka, he has his interpretation is very practical and very contemporary, so to say. Okay, so this is what he has handled these three Brahmans. And from here, let us relook at the types of samadhi, because this one is very interesting, and I wanted all of us to look at it. So, Jagdish, you can also share your thoughts of savikalpa. So, if you can break the word down into vikalpa,
Yes,
then we know what is savikalpa means and what is nirvikalpa means. So, if you can
yes.
start with that.
So, grammatically speaking, right? So, the word vikalpa actually means you have to get a bit into how your mind works there, right? So, the mind always tries to look at various plans. So, let's say to achieve any particular action, or even when you are just sitting, your mind is basically making some kind of plans, and it says, do A or do B. I think plan A and plan B comes from there, because your mind normally goes in multiple directions, and these directions or these options that you have are what are called vikalpas. So here, when you talk about samadhi, the vikalpa that you have, the option that you have is basically um, either you can meditate on various forms. So you can meditate, let's say, on a form or on a sound. These are the most subtle ones that you can meditate on. There are other things probably. Somewhere I had read that all the pancha tanmatras, right, shabda sparsha rupa rasa gandha, they all can be meditated upon, but the higher ones in that are the shabda and the drishya, which we have also written here, which are the drishyanavidha and shabdanavidha samadhis. But coming back to the word savikalpa, so sa is with. So we are saying that this samadhi, this type of samadhi, is with these vikalpas, or the mind is still there. So this whole process, like we talked about sometime in the previous session, is a way of slowly diminishing your mind to such an extent that it finally merges, and then the vagaries of the mind are not there to delude you from your real self, and then you go to the real self, right? So it is basically a step by step approach where the mind is slowly cut down, right?
Fading
So
it out.
in the yeah, fading it out indeed. So the savikalpa samadhi is basically with so your mind is still active, and you are still controlling your mind in such a manner that it doesn't run around the world. We spoke about arambhavad, right? So this is basically where the arambhavad still is, because the arambhavada speaks about um, you know the cause and the effect separately. So it talks about Paramatma, which is there, and the separation in Arambhavad is like that. We spoke about Arambhavad in the previous this thing. So just to remind the viewers also of what Arambhavad is. So there are three types of let us say you know there are three plans, let us say, okay, for people who are in various stages of spiritual enlightenment. So the beginners normally subscribe to something called the arambhavad. The the people who are somewhere in between, they normally go to something called a parinamavad, and the third or the highest ones, they go to a vivartavada.
We were
Vivartavad, right? So we are still talking about the Arambhavad, where there is the world and there is the Paramatma. So, and it is in the Savikalpa Samadhi, it is still a very willful and a very focused effort to not go towards the to the effect. So the effect is basically the created world. So you are training your mind in such a manner that it doesn't go after the world, but it then goes to the right path, which is towards the Paramatma. And in doing so, you are attributing certain drishya, so the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, the Tanmatras to the Paramatma, and saying Paramatma looks like this. Paramatma has a particular form. He has a particular sound that is emanating from him. He has a particular beautiful smell that is emanating from him. Okay, and therefore these I mean, you are doing a meditation on this Paramatma, and with all these attributes, so that becomes your Savikalpa Samadhi. And by doing that,
So,
your mind
Jagdish,
has attained a
Jagdish,
state.
yeah, Jagdish, I want to tell you that maybe we did not discuss Arambavad here. We had discussed privately. So, Arambavad,
We did not.
this,
Okay.
yeah. So, because you mentioned it, let us give it a little bit of thought. See, Vads, all this Vad is a basically, uh, you can say, a thought given by people, scholars,
Right.
and the belief systems go in that. So Arambavad for is all the people who say that an effect which is not, an effect which is not there is produced by the activity of the causes. So something like a pot was not there before the potter made it. So that is Arambavad. So
And
potter
it
started
also
that,
looks at the pot separately and the potter separately.
potter separately.
It
So that
doesn't
is
relate
Aram.
the two.
Yeah. And Parinamvad is mentioned as the effected universe existed before the real in the subtle form. So Parinamvad says that whatever you're creating is also pre-existing in its subtle form, and it gets manifested by somebody. So it has to be like somebody's imagination. The painter has an imagination in his head. So there is a subtle imagination already there, which he puts it on the canvas. So that becomes Parinamvad. So it's like also they're saying the seed, for example. They give example of seed. A tree is hidden in the seed, and when the seed is sown, it becomes that's a parinama. This is a parinam, is the result of that activity.
Right.
I think Vivartavad was a theory of transcendental illusion, and
No, so um,
I'm
there is a slight difference I would like to pitch in here. So in the in the Prarambhavad and in the Parinamavad, right? So in the Parinamavad, what we are also saying, so in the Arambhavad, we said that there is a pot and there is a potter. We are not connecting the two. We are not bothered that, you know, we are just concerned that we should not go to the pot, but we want to go towards the potter. Okay, but in the Parinamavad, the we are relating it and we are saying that, oh yeah, there is a pot, or you know, the pot, the reason for the pot to exist is basically the potter, and therefore, you know, the pot doesn't exist without the potter, and therefore the potter is the one who can make the pot or not make the pot, or you know, he's the all powerful one. You know, we recognize him in that way. In the Vivartavada, however, we say that the potter is there, and the potter has himself manifested as the pot. I mean, that's one of the ways of, I mean, I'm trying to oversimplify this thing for us to understand. But if you look at the various
yeah. So basically, the
things there,
Brahma
it's
itself
basically that.
is a manifested reality, and it
Yes.
appears different through the Maya. So
Right.
that is what
Right.
becomes the Vivartavad.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Vivartavad.
Okay.
So interesting. So here we are discussing Savikalpa. If you look at that Vikalpa, so you give an option. So it's basically getting samadhi through an option. So what are the options of getting samadhi? If you need an option, then that is called Savikalpa.
Mm.
And in the whole Pancha Bhutas, if you look at it, from fire the Drishya comes up. So if you
Right.
look at how beautifully they have given a very subtlety, the Drishyanuvid and Shabdanuvid. So from fire onwards, there is a you can contemplate on the some kind of a form. But
Right.
before fire, it is only sound. It is a
Mhm.
subtle. So that is why I
Yes.
think they have mentioned this Drishya and Shabda as Savikalp Samadhi.
Correct.
So you can have an option to contemplate and that is called savikalpa because there is an option. Either it is a sound option or is it a form option. When you
Form
do
option.
not need an option to contemplate, no, neither drisha nor shabda, then becomes
Correct.
nirvikalpa.
Yes.
So
Here,
it's
brother,
very
I
interesting,
am
right?
reminded of one of the so in Tamil Nadu, right? So there are a set of Shiva Bhaktas. They are called the Nayanars. Nayanars, some people call
Hmm.
Nayanmars also. In that, one of those Nayanars actually, his form of devotion was so that he used to buy a lot of this. Do you know sambrani, the sambrani powder that we normally use for dhoop, right? So it's normally taken from a tree slack, okay? So and it's powdered, and then you put it in fire. It gives a very beautiful smell. So that's
Fragrance.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
Okay.
usually used for dhupa, okay?
Yeah.
uh, he used to buy a lot of this incense basically, and he used to put it in the fire. He used to sit in the smoke, and when the smoke used to when the beautiful smell used to come, right, he used to smell it and then go into samadhi, it seems, because according to him he related that beautiful smell to Shiva. He said he's Sugandhi. Okay, Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam we have, right? So in fact that is one of the examples where it is not just the shabdanuvidha or drishyanuvidha, but it's gandhanuvidha probably here, because he's able to go to the samadhi state just by with the help of incense, so there are also these examples which are there in our
Yeah.
great
You have
Bhagavatam.
given a new word, Gandhanavidya. Gandhanavidya. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Man, world is like that. You can reach from anywhere. Beautiful. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. So carry on. Anything else? So we were talking about. Let me bring it up.
The
Next. Where
Savikalpa
is
and the
where?
Nirvikalpa. So, since we are in the first standard still, which is Savikalpa, so we spoke a lot
Yeah.
about that. But the Nirvikalpa is is beyond. So you need to go beyond the senses to actually go to the Nirvikalpa Samadhi state. So, which means that you do not attribute any form, nor any of the attributes of the shabda sparsh. So these are the only five sense organs that we have, and whatever we experience in the world is basically a mixture of the five, right? Here we are and the subtlety of the mind is that it is in tune with all these five experiences, and then the vikalpas come where it says, this particular smell is good smell, this particular smell is bad smell, this drishya is good drishya, this drishya is bad drishya. So those are the vikalpas that also go in the mind, right? Once these subtleties are cut, minus minus minus, right, you have the nirvikalpa state, where there is no, you do not attribute any meaning to any of the five sensory experiences that you have, okay? So that is when the nirvikalpa samadhi state is reached, and the mind is continuously in tune with the ultimate godhead.
When we hear this, it appears that Nirvikalpa Samadhi is so high. And now when you look at it from the template point of view, then you realize that it is halfway. So there
Yes.
is much more than that. So
Exactly.
even Nirvikalpa is sometimes is hard to comprehend as to
Yes.
what all it
Yes.
entails to be in
Yeah.
Nirvikalpa Samadhi,
Yeah.
in which a person is so pure that the person does not need any kind of excuses to
Yes.
contemplate on God, and that becomes Jivan Mukta. So that is the
Exactly.
kind of people whom we are calling Jivan Muktas.
Jivan mukta.
Okay, now let's go forward and see how we attain. And now here, if we notice, here we have Nisankalpa, Nirvikalpa, and Nirvikalpa. nirvrittika, and nirvasana. So you have sankalpa, vrittika, and vasana. Let's go with the same template and discuss what does sankalpa, vrittika, and nirvasana refer to.
So again, grammar actually helps us a lot. The actual word meanings, I mean, they are so deep. Sanskrit is a mother in itself. It is so deep. um, I would like to also, before going into these, request the viewers that, um, there are so many Sanskrit lectures available on YouTube and everywhere on the internet. Maybe explore a little bit so that, um, it's like a key to the treasure trove that we have in the whole of the Vangmaya that we have. So you have that key, you get access to a lot more knowledge. So with that, let's jump into the words and the meanings, right? Sankalpa is actually, it's a very common word. Everybody, when they do puja, they do something called a sankalpa. So what is this sankalpa? Sankalpa is, um, willfully focusing your mind on a particular action. You say, now, in this particular on this particular day, in this particular time, I am going to focus my full all of my energies on doing, let us say, xyz puja. Or, it need not be a puja. It could even be your official work that you are doing. It is your will, right? You are willing that you will go and do your office work in the given stipulated time. So that is the sankalpa part of it, right? Here in this stage of samadhi, there is not even a sankalpa. Okay, so in fact, till now, at least the sankalpa was there that I should go into samadhi state. My mind should slowly diminish itself, right? So that sankalpa is also not there now, because you have crossed the jivan mukta state there. So there is not even a sankalpa. It just happens, just like a river flows automatically, right? So wherever there is a, lower, wherever there is down, the river basically flows. The water flows in that direction. Okay, it's so natural to it. Just like that, the samadhi state happens. Okay, without even the sankalpa. So in fact, not just the sankalpa of the samadhi, but there are no other sankalpas that are done here in this state.
No,
Okay.
so Sai, I find one more thing I would like to highlight, which you had mentioned, that this whole thing from Savikalpa onwards,
Hmm.
it is the subtlety of the consciousness,
Right.
right? The
Indeed.
whole process is going. So, one thing to be noted here is that in Nirvikalpa Samadhi,
Hmm.
when we are given a Jivan Mukta status, Sankalpa exists.
Correct.
That means there is a willful desire or willfulness of the aspirant to remain in that state of Nirvikalpa.
Exactly. The desire is
And
there.
yeah, and that is what Bhagwan Ram has also mentioned, that that is the reason why you are bound by body.
Hmm.
You understand? So
Yeah.
now it makes sense also when I'm now listening and discussing. It makes sense that Bhagwan, how he has explained that in Nirvikalpa Samadhi you have still some kind of a attachment to the body.
Right.
And I could not figure out that at that time, like if it is samadhi, then why body? He says the effect of the body may not be on you that much, but
Hmm.
there is a connect.
Right.
And now the connect makes more sense when you talk about from the sankalpa point of view. Because sankalp itself shows an identity,
Yes.
right? Sankalpa is an identity that I
Exactly.
wish to do something. So
Exactly.
there is a kind of a
I is there.
consciousness. So which means nirvikalpa stage, that is what joins you and keeps you fantastic. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. So one step above that is the nirvrittika samadhi. So, in this state, so the vritti, so here vritti we have to connect to the word chitta vritti. So you would have heard about chitta vritti a lot of time. Even Swami has spoken about it in a number of discourses. So the sankalpas don't exist here, but the mind is still there, and in its monkey nature it is still jumping. So the vritti of the mind is basically to jump. So just like the sun's nature is to give light, just like the fire's nature is heat, the nature of the mind is basically this entropy, right? So it keeps
Vritika.
moving all the time. Vritti.
Vritika.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Vritika is
And
can be in a simple way can be understood as fluctuations or you know,
fluctuations. Exactly.
okay.
Fluctuations, and also, so here the sankalpa might not be there. So sankalpa is a willful feeling, like we said, to do something. But then the mind can still keep jumping, right? So you can ice cream, tack, the ice cream picture appears in the mind, and then all those I don't have a sankalpa yet, I do not want to experience an ice cream, but my previous experiences of the ice cream still come, right? So that is a chitta vritti. For, I mean, I'm oversimplifying again.
So
This
basically, sankalpa, even if I do not have a willful desire for something, my
hmm,
past karmic uh, manas
yes,
can bring vrittis to me. So
exactly.
when I go beyond those vrittis, when I think Bhagwan says here very beautifully, it should be like watching a cloud. You don't chase the cloud, you just watch it. So
Hmm,
watch your thoughts, watch like as if watching a cloud. They come and go, and you don't
go.
stop.
Yes.
So I think that state is Vrittika. So in that you
Nirvrittika.
fluctuations or the vagaries of mind, they are happening, but you are unaffected by it.
Hmm.
And once you can reach that stage, that would be Nirvrittika. Wow.
The Nirvartika
Yeah, makes
Samadhi.
sense.
And then if we go one step further from there is the Vasanas. So the Vasanas are basically one step subtler than just the vrittis, right? So vrittis are something that you might have accumulated in your mind during this lifetime, but the vasanas are coming from times immemorial. Since the day your jiva started its journey, it has been collecting a lot of these vasanas in the form of papas and punyas, right? So and these vasanas, they kind of also direct the way a mind functions, right? In this nirvasana
Yeah,
samadhi, even
yeah, go on, go on,
those
go on.
even those subtle impacts on the mind are lost. So how do I give an example of a vasana, brother? Do you want to give an example of a vasana?
I was understanding that vasanas are the imprints.
Exactly. Imprints on the
Correct. They are
mind.
the imprints on our chitta.
Hmm,
So that what do you call it? So imprints and all from the past accumulation.
exactly.
So
And these
Vritika
are
is the
also coming
fluctuation
these are also coming beyond births, brother. So the vasanas,
beyond
right?
birth.
So purva
Correct.
janma vasana is a very common term that we would have
Yes.
heard,
Yes.
right? So yeah, so they are coming from across births, and these are, like you beautifully mentioned, imprints on the mind. And these imprints are so strong that even without a person's uh, thought, right, it normally, the mind automatically takes you into a particular direction. Maybe it's like a bias, but this bias is not happened in this life, but it has been building up from lives together, right? So that is the vasana aspect. And in the nirvasana samadhi, even those subtle aspects of this mind are lost. And then we reach the videha mukti
See,
stage.
saying I'm actually tempted to compare that with our Bhagwan's style of teaching us.
Of
Now,
course,
if I
yes.
look at the whole journey, I look at Savikalpa, that options. yeah, he has limited, by default he limits those options, right? He makes you sit down, and the way he trained us, any guru of the spiritual caliber, I would do that. And I think by default we achieve savikalpa, because we are focused on his words, we are focused on his form. So we need a kalpa, that excuse, that kind of a
Vikalpa.
thing. And then when we step out of his physical domain, physical proximity, then obviously that reminder that he is still watching, he's still with me, and I'm there with him. See, that kind of a feeling exists, and we tend to enjoy, experience that same thing, which we did it through Savikalpa. So I
Hmm.
think Nirvikalpa also is kind of bestowed on us, if you think of it
Directly,
like that.
indeed.
It's a very,
Exactly.
I'm just throwing it very simple, that, when Bhagwan used to say, I remember one day Swami was mentioning to us, and he said, very casually, he said, he was talking about uh, Dvaita, Vishishta Advaita and Advaita.
Advaita.
So he said, by being near Avatar, you are all blessed with Vishishta Advaita
Oh, automatically.
automatically. And at that time, it didn't make any sense to me, but it was like, okay, nice it is. But what nice it is, I don't know. Today, when we are going through whole of that, and it just hits you that, okay, he's saying he gives you Vishishta Advaita as default status that you will reach. Because obviously, we logically, at least, we understand that we are not separate from him. So Dvaita doesn't exist, even though we are still in the Dvaita world, but we have logically we have accepted it, we have understood it. And
Yes.
in Vishishta Advaita, obviously, we play with that. Sometimes we want to love him, worship him, and then we are cool with that. So same way, if you look at it, Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa, he is kind of forced us for that. So every devotee of God is forced into Savikalpa Samadhi. The more and more you are thinking about the Lord, you are in Samadhi. Around the world, people go crazy just by listening to a bhajan, right?
Yes.
So imagine that is your Shabdanuvid, and looking at a darshan or a picture and then cry, that is your Drishyanuvid. So, and then nothing is available, still you close your eyes and start having tears flowing from your eyes. That is Nirvikalpa. So basically, if I would say that by association of an avatar or a spiritual master of that caliber, Jivan Mukta becomes a natural, easy way to come. But then Nisankalpa, that is Vrittika, these are challenging words.
Hmm.
And Bhagavan says that, we have to only do our surrender part of it, and rest he will take care. He will give you that. So now if I say, correct me if I'm going in the wrong direction, when Bhagwan makes us to say that you watch a cloud but don't follow it. You watch a
Hmm.
thought but don't follow it. You watch your breath and don't follow it. So basically he is actually pushing us towards nirvritika. Am I right? And
Yes. Yes. Yes.
once we are stabilized in nirvritika, obviously nirvasana may also be the next natural outcome.
Hmm.
And sankalpa, actually, when we are with God, especially in His physical presence, and any of the spiritual masters, nobody tends to make any decisions.
Hmm.
Okay, the sankalpa part disappears naturally. Nobody
Yes.
takes a sankalpa, right? So everybody is just following literally whatever the
Following
master says.
comics.
Yeah. See, I'm reminded of a very beautiful story. Uh, it seems one day Bhagwan came down from his room, and
Hmm.
there were some boxes kept on the side.
Okay.
And Mr. Chiranjeev Garu was
Uh,
there. And Swami looked at him and said, Chiranjeev, why is these boxes kept here?
uh,
Move them this side.
okay.
Who kept it? Like he was in a very like upset kind of a mood. Chinejira said, I'm sorry, Swami, I'll move it. And he moved it. He moved it his side and Bhagwan went. And he was moving it. After some time, Swami again came back and he saw and he said, Chinejira, why do you keep it
Where's this
here?
box?
Move it back.
Okay.
And Chinejira said, I'm sorry, Swami, I'll do it. And again he moved it. So even some boys tried to help him, but he said, no, he has given me the command, I must fulfill it. And he
Yes.
did that. Again he put it back. And
Mm.
Bhagwan then turned towards the boys and said, see, he didn't get he didn't even get irritated. He didn't get irritated also. He didn't oh yeah. He didn't get irritated at all. He did not even raise any kind of objection. So that is the beauty, and that is why he is where he is. Beauty, you know.
Totally, totally. What an amazing experience.
So then you realize that Sankalpa also, with in Bhagwan's physical presence, Sankalpa is also disappears, naturally disappears.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to take any Sankalpa. Now the
True.
challenge is in Vritika and Nirvasana. In Vritika, no, I'm actually, we are oversimplifying it. It looks like as if Videha Mukti is in our
Doorstep.
you know. Another interesting fact which came to my notice, somebody was mentioning that Ramakrishna Paramahansaji, you know,
Hmm.
Paramahansa Ramakrishna, he was stuck in Jivan Mukta.
Hmm. Yes, I
And
remember
then
this
Totapuriji comes
story.
and hits him with his chimta. And
Yes.
that is when then he crosses that and he becomes Videha Mukta.
That's the push
Then
he
he loses
needed,
his
in
body
fact, to go
consciousness.
into the next
So he was
stage.
attached. Yeah, next step, next stage. So that is where that whole Vritika Vasanas disappeared for him and he became Videha Mukta. So Videha Mukta is explained that you can achieve Videha Mukta even in the body.
Hmm.
So Videha Mukta, even though the word itself shows that you have liberated from the body consciousness, but it does not mean that your body will drop dead. It is still
Hmm.
there. That's how they explain it. That in
For the
Jivan Mukta,
prarabdhas
obviously
to be
you have
completed.
the prarabdha to be completed. So I think we will look at it when we come to the discussion of that. So this is a very
Yes.
beautiful, journey. And as you right beautifully said that it's a subtlety from Savikalpa to Nirvasana. So vasanas are the final imprints that we have to get rid of, right? So that is okay. Then he talks about two types of yoga, Sabheda and Abheda. Help me in this.
So the Sabheda Yoga again, so we have to talk about yoga, the word, right? So yoga comes from the Sanskrit dhatu yuj. So yuj basically means to so communion, or so in fact when okay, a very mundane example is, let's say, Vahana Yoga. So, some astrologers say that this week you have Vahana Yoga. What does that mean, right? So it means that you have in your kundali, or in your fortune, um, uh, the good fortune, or whatever you would call it. You will so this vahana, or a vehicle, right? It will be bestowed upon you. It is a rich, it is a how do you call it? It's a form of wealth, right? So in fact, you and this form of wealth are having a communion. So that is why it is called a yoga. And I'm just doing this to explain the word yoga itself. And then we go to Sabheda Yoga and Abheda Yoga. So, however, the yoga that we are talking here is from the point of view of uniting the Jiva and the Paramatma. Okay, coming back to the
Yes,
point here, right? Yeah. So the
union,
union.
union.
So
Yes,
indeed. So in the Sabheda Yoga, again, there is a Jiva and there is a Paramatma, and then you are slowly making efforts to to come for the union to happen, right? So there, in fact, to when you're starting the whole process, you agree that there is a difference. You say that, oh, I am a jiva and that is the Paramatma. And then then you also recognize that, you have to make efforts to go and merge in him, right? So that is the Sabheda yoga. I think aspects like the Ashtanga yoga and all come as part of the Sabheda yoga, where you will have the Hatha yoga, Raja yoga, and all. I think they are forms of Sabheda yoga. But there is
So
one that is
basically it covers the Dvaitavad.
the Dvaitavad, yes. Or even the Vishishtadvaitavad, because Vishishtadvaita also speaks about the difference and, the ability to unite, right?
That would become Abheda, no?
So, in fact, so Abheda is that there is only one. I am not there. He's the only one that is there. And
No, it is like Tattvamasi, no?
correct,
See,
exactly.
in Tattvamasi, that thou art. So
Hmm,
still you have separation. When
correct,
you say that and this, there is a separation. So that becomes Visishta Advaita.
right.
I am that is also separation.
Separation.
Yeah, so it is that is the beauty of this, that even Tattvamasi, Aham, so all these things are, they have a duality in them. It's
Exactly,
crazy.
exactly,
It's crazy.
exactly. Aspect of equality. So, but again, in the Abheda, so you are negating the Bheda, meaning we both are there, but there is no difference between us two. So I am his reflection directly, right? So there, that is the Abheda yoga. In fact, I think Rama, he starts this whole discourse to Hanuman with this Abheda Bhava, where he says that the Jiva he has emanated like a spark that has come out of the fire. Again, the usage is very beautiful, because my mind keeps going back to that shloka somehow. uh, because in one shloka he has very subtly mentioned that you are a spark of me. You and me are one. The spark cannot exist without the fire, and the spark is not separate from the fire, just like we discussed in the previous session. And we said, Swami gave the example of the waves, right? So the waves are not separate from the ocean. So just like that, the spark is not separate from the fire. So that is the Abheda part of it.
See here, I think very beautiful. Ram also says one thing very nicely, is that he who is devoid of yoga does not
Mhm.
attain moksha by jnana alone.
Right.
So it's a very beautiful stress that why yoga is so important. So unless and until you have yoga, you cannot achieve moksha by jnana alone.
Mm.
And practice of yoga is called upasana. He mentioned it like that.
Yes.
So, and without upasana, you cannot get over the vagaries of mind.
Totally.
See, I want to show you that because it's a very beautiful explanation of upasana. So, normally we understand upasana as sitting near, right?
Mm.
Upasana, sitting
Upa
near
asana is sitting near.
near the master. So, worship by sitting near. And and here he says the practice of yoga is upasana. So,
Mm.
meditation. Here he's using the word upasana as a meditation practices, and
Meditation.
that itself is yoga. But look at the words. I love that how he has defined upasana. That by which the lower self, on account of its identity, is seated near or brought into close proximity with the higher
The
self,
higher self.
is
Called
called
upasana.
upasana, and that is which kills all human afflictions.
Actions.
So it is not somebody like a disciple sitting near
Mm.
Guru or God. It is
Right.
that lower self, on account of self identity, is seated near or brought into close proximity with the higher self. Isn't it that, like, I love that? I've never seen a definition of this nature of upasana.
So it's so beautiful. Indeed.
Beautiful. You know, Ram Gita, I find that some definitions are fantastic, which are like the lower self sitting because of our self identification, it is still sitting near the higher self.
Exactly.
Upasana.
Exactly.
So he's saying that upasana is most important for getting over the mind stuff. So, which means Videha Mukti, which is all mind stuff, cannot be achieved without Upasana.
Upasana.
So, if I look at it very simply, with Bhagavan says that portion is exclusively God's grace. Human efforts don't matter there.
Don't.
It's all luck, and it's all like farm boys. So Upasana, this is how it goes. Isn't it beautiful? So I find
Totally,
it
totally.
okay. Here, this part he brings it a very beautiful, and he says, and this is the next part which he explains very beautifully. He says you can meditate and question up to Nirguna Brahma,
Hmm.
even though it has that negative attribute of Satchitanand.
Sachidanand.
You know, that's what it was. Yeah, if we all recall that negative attributes, he says that can be meditated upon, and hence it can be questioned. So you are allowed to question, inquire up to Nirguna Brahma. But the moment you come to Nirgunatit, which is beyond form and attributes, beyond form and attribute, I think I should written form and attribute. He says very categorically that it cannot be questioned, and it's
No,
very interesting. And he
by
says
the
one
time you
more thing,
reach,
very beautiful.
sorry, sorry. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, carry on, huh?
No, no. By the time you reach that Nirgunatit, the mind has already, merged in him. So where is the mind to even do a question, right?
No, it's in fact the inquiry part of it also. It is
Yeah.
not that you have reached a stage. It
Hmm.
is like if you are inquiring about it. So here he puts a. See, what I find it
Ah, that
interesting is
way.
that,
Okay.
yeah, even the questioning is not allowed.
Right.
So, and Ram very beautifully, Sri Ram explains here in Ram Gita that all that what the scriptures of any Vedanta, any scripture, what they are describing maximum is Nirgun Brahma. So everything, all the descriptions, discussions are based on Nirgun Brahma. And since there is a discussion, so you can inquire, you can question.
Okay.
See, one thing I used to enjoy, admire Bhagwan uh, in this area was that he would allow us to question,
Hmm.
but he would also teach us how to question.
How to question.
The questioning is not only just a right; it is an art.
Hmm.
One has to know that. He would say, if you are questioning to learn, you can ask question to learn or to test, but you cannot question just for the sake of it, and who you are doing it. So if you want to
Like
learn, then you have a style of questioning has to be different.
the
So here,
pariprashna that the Gita mentions.
yes. So that is where the point comes, and I'm noticing here when he says Nirguna Atita cannot be questioned. So which means that that attributeless, that beyond form and attribute,
Hmm.
that part cannot be questioned.
Question.
So
So
because
it
that is
reminds
something
me of
beyond.
that mantra where it says, yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidwan, and so on, right? In the Upanishad, it says, yato vacho nivartante. So, in fact, the vachaha, or the words, right? They turn back. Okay, they can't reach him, and therefore they turn back. So that is that nirgunatita. He cannot be questioned nor experienced, nor uh, you know it is just beyond. That's it.
I'll tell you one more interesting fact which he has mentioned here is that just by concentrating on Sagun Brahma, you cannot attain Nirvana,
Hmm.
which was a little shocker to me, and I'm still trying to digest that. He's saying
So you
Sagun
have to go
Brahma
to the
alone,
nirguna.
you have to. So Sagun
Okay.
Brahma, what it does is meditating on Sagun Brahma, if you do it with a desire, with a motive, it will fulfill.
Hmm.
So meditating on the Sagun Brahma with a desire, with a focus, can fructify that.
Right.
Okay? When the same meditation is done without any expectation of from the Sagun Brahma, it purifies the mind. But it does not guarantee or it does not lead us to nirvana. Interesting, right?
Very beautiful.
Sagun Brahma cannot give you ultimate nirvana. That was like something very mind-boggling for me,
Amazing. Amazing.
really. And then he says meditating upon the universal, that Nirguna Brahma, which is your negative attribute, Satchit Anand, is considered to be higher. So if you meditate on the effulgence of Satchit Ananda,
Hmm.
it is considered to be highest. But if you consider that as Aham Brahmasmi,
Hmm.
then it can cause immediate liberation. So Salakshana, if you take Salakshana, then it can become highest achievement. But when you do Aham Brahmasmi, then it is immediate liberation.
Okay.
Can you imagine? Like it is
Beautiful.
something shaky to me. And then he says Nirgunatita is devoid of attributes, indescribable, devoid of form, and can only be named, cannot be
Hmm.
questioned,
Hmm.
and questioning can be done till Nirgun. This is how he closes this part of the Ramagita. And immediately look at the beauty of this whole thing is, I think it is Vashishta's style of writing also. Hanuman questions back Ram, and very beautiful. And let me see if I've written that. So Hanuman questions, how can questions regarding an established truth be prohibited when
Hmm.
by a knowledge of it and Jivan Mukti accrues to man?
Hmm.
So interesting to note is that when Lord says to him that Nirguna Tita cannot be questioned, so Hanuman, in a very, I would say it relates to all of us when we, especially the youngster today, they say, why can't I question?
Hmm.
Questioning is my right. So we have to learn when to question, how to question, and what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, right? So here Hanuman himself is asking that, oh Lord, how can questioning be prohibited? So why can't I question Nirguna Tita?
Yeah. Especially when such a great thing as Jivan Mukti, it comes because of this questioning. Then why is the questioning itself prohibited? That's the great question that Hanuman is asking.
So do you want to
Eager,
like
eager
hit on
to.
that? Because I yeah, I can
I'm
just take
I'm
you through the
totally
journey of what.
eager to listen to the answer, brother.
And Ram says to him very beautifully, he starts explaining to him that you have to first inquire as to who are you questioning. And then
Hmm.
he talks about, you know, the attributeless Brahman. And then he says that there are three types of Brahman, right? In which he says the Nirgun Brahma is the middle Brahma. And it is
Right.
not the Nirgunatita. Nirguna Brahma is the middle Brahman because it is capable of being taught and even possessed of form, even though the form can be a super effulgence. So he says the Shrutis always speak about this Brahman alone. But Nirgunatita has got no character.
Hmm.
And so it is beyond even your wildest imagination of what that could be. So imagine Nirguna Brahma, which is no attributes and no form. That is
Beautiful.
Nirgunatita. Now Nirgun.
Amazing.
Now
Amazing.
Nirgunatita. So that is like beyond that. So he says, because you are not able to even comprehend that, what will you question?
Right. Right.
Even Nirgun you can't comprehend fully.
Hmm.
because Nirgun itself is without form and without attributes. So imagine Nirguna Tita. So how will you do that? And that is where he takes them in another journey. He says, and another thing very interesting he says is third, Saguna Brahma. He says that Sagun Brahma is not even considered in the science of self. I'm getting
Okay.
shockers here. As it cannot directly secure mukti. So we Sagun Brahma is not even considered in the science of self.
Okay.
And that is where he starts describing about avidya. And he
Hmm.
says avidya belongs to nirvishesha, that is Brahman having negative attributes. And these intelligent bliss, etc., are opposed to those of Maya.
Okay.
So that is how he goes around telling him that, but he is here referring to avidya as nirvishesha.
Hmm.
Normally, we thought avidya is what is not Atman, right?
Hmm.
In his parlance of talking, probably it is because it's Hanuman as an audience. He has taken that jump that he's calling, as Nirgun as a middle Brahma, and Nirgun as
Hmm.
something which he can question and all that. But he calls avidya belongs to nirvishesha, which is Brahman with the negative attributes.
Hmm.
So second middle
Okay.
Brahman, the knowledge of middle Brahman is referred to as avidya here.
Right.
But avidya is saying it is not same as maya.
Hmm.
So it's a very, very interesting. I would say it's like, you can contemplate on it too much, but it is interesting that how he has built it up, the whole thing. And then he starts talking about, uh, do you want to say anything here? Then he goes on to talk about Jivan Muktas.
Okay. So yes, vidya as opposed to avidya as opposed to vidya, right? Basically, that which doesn't allow you to go into the vidya aspect. And uh, so in fact, when I was studying the Lalita Sahasranama, right? So the Lalita Sahasranama has a particular name of the mother goddess. It's very beautiful. I also that this particular topic came up because the mother is coming very soon. The Dashara Navaratris are coming very soon, so probably that is why the mother has come up in our discussion. So there, one of the names of the mother is Vidya Vidya Swarupini. So she is the form of Vidya as well as Avidya. Okay, she's both. So in fact, when I was reading one of the bhashyas there, what this bhashyakara has written is that Avidya here is required to run the whole um, creation. Okay, in the sense that, so let us say, a mother. Okay, take the case of a mother. She has given birth to a child, and this child, for the child's benefit, for its well-being, the mother has to feel that love towards it. If the mother says, oh, everything is mohamaya, I what is the child related to me? What do I have to do with anything here? If the mother has that kind of a approach, the child's life will not be that comfortable, right? So there, in fact, the bhashikara says that as avidya, mother makes the whole universe function the way it is functioning. And he gives this example of the mother and the child, the relation. Although it is deluding to a certain extent, it is required for the world to function. So that's the definition that this bhashikara gave, which I wanted to just bring in here.
In fact, I'm not, because we thought it will become too much heavy then. He has also discussed in this same line about Advaita Brahmavad, Advaitins,
Hmm.
Anubhava Advaita. So all that he has explained. I find that is one interesting thought was there that Anubhava Advaita, they hold that the universe is neither true nor false.
Hmm.
You know, And how they explain it and how Bhagavan in Ram Gita has explained it is very beautiful. They have said two things. We know this from Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya got it.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
but imagine this same philosophy was even preceding Ram. So what Adi Shankara has brought in was already there.
It was Sanatan.
It is Sanatan. So that is another beautiful part of it, Advaita, Anubhava Advaita. And in that, what he's saying, in a very beautiful way, in a very simple way, I would say, is that the world is neither true or false. It all depends on the person who is observing it.
Observing.
For a jnani, it is false,
Mm.
and for a worldly, it is true.
It is true.
So now, which way? It is like that physics concept,
Exactly.
relativity.
Yeah.
Whichever way you look at it, it is the cat is still alive or cat is dead. I don't know, but that is what it is. So that is Anubhava Advaita. So if you look at
Mm.
it from Sakshi Vritti and all that they have discussed, and beautifully explained that part, that it is the world is like that. For one who has understood, for them it is unreal. For not understood, it is real. So we have to live according to that. Right? It's very beautiful that how he has explained that. Okay. So let us get to how he has explained the Jivan Mukti part of it. He has given us
Mm.
some pointers of what is a Jivan Mukta. One who does not think of his body as I, who considers this universe neither as real or unreal, and has the knowledge of the meditator, who experiences the self
Hmm.
during meditation and carries that experience even after the meditation.
Okay.
I really wish to achieve this. Who establishes himself above Sakshi Vritti and below Akhandaikarsa Sthiti.
Sthiti. Mm.
Akhandaikarsa Sthiti. Establish Sakshi Vritti and below Akhandaikarsa. Do you know this Akhandaikarsa is actually Akhandaikarsa? Akhandakara.
Akhandaika rasa. Akhandaika
Akhandakara.
rasa. No.
Akhandaikarasa.
Akhanda eka rasa. Okay, so that is the sthiti. So in which the experience of the Jivan Mukta, or of the yogi, or the practitioner, is basically that um, there is basically a continuum in the whole universe, and that is the single rasa, or the single amritatva, which is
Uh,
pervading the whole universe, and that
which
is
is
keeping
contemplated
everything
on.
alive.
Yeah.
Yes, that
He
is what is
mentions it that it
akhandaika
is,
rasa.
yeah, he mentioned that that comes from Nirvikalpa Samadhi,
Hmm.
and the focus is only on the one universal truth.
Right.
And Sakshi Vritti is where the Atma, that it's a Sakshi. It's only
Hmm.
a witness to all and not the doer. So I'm not the doer, I'm only the witness to what is
Correct.
happening.
Yes.
So he's saying it's one who establishes above Sakshi Vritti and below Akhanda Ikasha.
Hmm.
That is interesting, eh?
Yes.
Below. So that is Jivan Mukta. Because once you
Correct.
cross Akhanda Ikara, I think that will be like Videha Mukti.
Akhandaika rasa is videha mukti. Correct.
Videha Mukti, right? So that's why he's saying that Akhanda Ikara is below Akhanda and above Sakshi.
Because in the earlier sentences it's clearly also mentioned that who experiences the self during meditation and carries that experience after, even after the meditation. So in fact there, he has two states. One, during the meditation, he has the experience of the self, and after the meditation he has both experiences. He carries the experience of the self, but then he also experiences the world. So both are there in that state, and that's why they are saying that it is below the akhandaika rasa sthiti, because akhanda means which is so it's a continuous stream of flow. Okay, akhanda
Oh, there are
is
two words.
which.
Okay, okay. Akhanda Karasana comes from Nisankalpa Samadhi, and no
Hmm.
thoughts and eternal pleasure arising from universal self. So
Okay.
below that is your Jivan Mukta, obviously.
Yes.
And Akhandakara Vritti is that which is from
Akhandakara
Nirvikalpa.
vritti.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is from the Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, cool. Man, these definitions will kill us. He who directs his attention to the worldly affairs even after having seated himself. So this is, and then he goes through this Sanchit karma and Pralabdha karma. See how it gets connected. That is interesting to note. That how he's connecting the whole dots of
Hmm.
the whole journey, and he brings this Sanchit karma because when you're talking about samadhi and all that, so he's saying once you reach Jivan Mukta, your Sanchit and Agami gets destroyed.
Hmm.
And that I find some clarity interesting it is that in Jivan Mukta stage, the Sanchit karma and Agami karma gets nullified and you don't have the impact of it. But
Yes.
Pralabdha continues because Pralabdha is the physical form right
It is
now.
prarabdha, brother. Prarabdha. Ra. Prarabdha.
Oh, Prarabdha,
Yes.
Pralabdha. Is it difference when you use an L or R?
No, there is a ra. Prarabdha. Ra.
Okay, no, I'm asking is there any difference of the meaning? Because normally we
No,
say
no.
Pralabdh.
No, it is prarabdha only, right? So in
Oh,
Sanskrit,
the word itself. Oh,
the word itself is prarabdha. In
okay.
usage, many people use it as pralabdha and all, but in
The other
Sanskrit,
is
it is.
Pralabdha. That's what I was saying.
Hmm.
Okay, we'll fix it. So that's what I was mentioning that Sanchit and what do you call in this the whole Sanchit karma and Agami karma is from Jivan Mukta point it is gone, but Pralabdha impact of the Pralabdha is not on the person, but you have to bear it, and that is where he says either Pralabdha you can achieve Kaivalyam in the body itself. So Videha Mukti can be achieved in the form and your body will be there till your pralabdha gets over.
Hmm.
So we find that the Jivan Muktas and all the realized souls, how those saints continue to live, it is because of their pralabdha or what they have
Hmm.
taken from others, and that is what they drag on till they reach that stage. There is so much
I'm
science in this karma, really.
totally. No, I'm reminded of Shuka. So Shuka is basically the son of Vyasa. A short story here, basically. So Shuka, so Vyasa actually he's very clear. Okay, he doesn't want to go into the worldly, path of having a wife, having children, and so on. But he knows very clearly that aputrasya gatir nasti is one of the phrases that's used. Okay, so one who doesn't have a son doesn't have future, future gatis, or he doesn't go to the uttama brahmalokas, is what the Vedas say. Okay,
Hmm.
so therefore he desires a son. And so basically then he goes and does penance. So Shiva comes and says, okay, you are such a great tapasvi, I will bestow a son on you, don't worry, you don't need to enter the uh, you know bonds of marriage and so on. Okay, and then he bestows this son Shuka on him. This Shuka is a yogi. He's a jivan mukta by birth. Okay, and basically, then Vyasa sees him. He's born, and he's immediately full of vairagya. He doesn't do any of these things. So, and as so these are, by the way, these beings are not embodied like us. They are higher beings. So in fact he sees that, as soon as he's born, he grows to a 16-year-old. So that's how they are. Okay, so he grows up, and then he says, okay son, that now that you are born, you have got the knowledge of all the four Vedas, and you have completed all your studies by 16. Imagine. uh, So now you will now please get married, have a family and so on. He says, but I mean, he questions his father back and says, why do you want to bind me in all those kind of worldly bonds? I am beyond. Okay, why should I do anything is his question. And then Vyasa sends him to Janaka. Okay, in fact, I will connect it to what we spoke about a little earlier. Till that state, he was still a Jivan Mukta. Okay, then he goes to Janaka and he learns the art of bhakti. He learns bhakti and upasana over there at the feet of Janaka. And once he learns those two, he has become a Videha Mukta. Okay, these are the two yogas which were missing. And by the way, he also teaches him all the aspects of karma yoga also, because he's already a Jivan Mukta. He doesn't need any of these karmas, and he already is born with that kind of a vairagya. So he doesn't want to do any of these actions. But that is against dharma. That's against the law of creation. So Janaka also explains him that karma yoga is also important. Please follow, XYZ. I mean, whether he wants to get married or not, he wants to be bounded by these things or not, is another story. But he basically tells him that these are the things as you need to do. And then he learns upasana over there, and he becomes a Videha Mukta. However, he finishes his prarabdha, and then he finally gives up his body. And they say that in fact the five elements that make up his body, right? Even as everybody was seeing, those five elements go and make the merge themselves in the subtle elements of the universe, they say. So the fire aspect of him goes into the fire, the air aspect of him goes into the air, and so on, right? So the five elements go, and then there is nothing. Okay, and then he also gives a boon to Vyasa and says that, don't worry, I am everywhere right now. Okay, and whenever you call out to me, I will respond to you from everywhere, from around. So that is the Videha Mukti aspect that we are talking about, right? But even this Leela Shuka, that was a Jivan Mukta way birth, had to live those number of years for his prarabdha to be used up.
Get exhausted. Because prarabdha is related to the physical body, which we already got it. So
Yes,
the interference of the body is beyond, is against the law of nature, and which
exactly.
avatar. So Srinivas has asked a question to you, Sai. He says,
Brother.
Sai Jagdish, clarify if Swami's grace can nullify the effect of prarabdha if he wills, or
Oh,
reduce the
totally.
intensity of the effect that one has to go through in terms of troubles and tribulations.
Brother, I am such a small person to even comment on this. Swami has himself beautifully mentioned that Swami's grace can, beautifully handle your prarabdha or any of your karma for that matter. He said that if you're carrying, let us say, a 1,000 rupees. So in order to somehow quantify this karma that you have, let us say if you're carrying 1,000 rupees worth karma, and it's in your yoga, it's written in for you that, let's say, you have to go through this 1,000 rupees of karma. Swami's grace can convert this 1,000 rupees of karma into two notes of 500, or one note of 1,000 rupees, let us say, against, let us say, 1,001 rupee coins. Okay, how heavy will it be to experience, let us say, 1,001 rupee coins? It is very heavy, right? At the same time, Swami can make it a 1,000 rupee note. So the same karma can be experienced and got rid of in a jiffy. So there are also experience of many devotees who said that uh, they were to have an accident in real life, but Swami took it away by an accident that he gave to them in a dream. Okay, so I think it was one of our teachers that had shared this experience with us. He mentioned very clearly that he went through excruciating pain in a dream. and he was actually undergoing an accident, and the experience of the accident was so very, it was so I mean, he could feel it on his body, okay, even in his sleep. And then by the time he got up, he was profusely sweating and so on. He could feel the pain there, okay. And then that day he was supposed to travel to Bangalore from Puttaparthi and so on, and Swami asked him not to do that. That night he gets this dream. So next day, our teacher, he goes to darshan, and Swami says, and he asks Swami that, Swami, I had this dream last night. I felt excruciating pain throughout it. And uh, and then Swami replied to him that, that's why I told you, Bangaru, not to go to Bangalore. So I have taken out your karma in the form of a dream where you would have uh, experienced it in real life.
Yeah.
So that
See,
Swami
as
can do.
here also, Bhagwan Ram Gita, he explains that very beautifully. That once you achieve Jivan Mukta, you are naturally in a stage of oneness
Mm,
with the consciousness of that. So what happens here is that when you are in Vidya Mukti part, you are already in the Kavalium stage. But Pralabdha is holding you back. But the effect of Pralabdha is not happening on you. So it is like Bhagavan says, no, anesthesia.
mm,
So you can
exactly.
cut you open when you are in anesthesia. So basically, once you have arrived at that, you know, Vedaya Mukti, that is like a Kavalium. So it is an anesthesia. So there, Pralabdha will continue, but it won't impact, it won't make a difference. So
Right,
all your vagaries of mind, all that will keep happening, but it will be like passing clouds and it won't
right,
disturb you. So
right.
as Bhagwan Ram explains that Kavalium is not disturbed.
Mm,
So when I hear Swami Bhagwan used to say that it is not me, my miracles, many things he would talk like that. It is your own karma, and I'm just being an instrument. And you realize now that this is part of his laid out plan. If you reach there, you will get these things. So because of our ignorance, we tend to interpret it differently. So literally, Bhagavan becomes a drishta in most of the cases. But obviously, as if somebody says, he is a master. If he wants to intervene, well, who can stop him?
who can exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So yeah, it is like that. So brother Srinivas, I would say that don't Bhagwan. Once we have His grace, then nothing matters. It will be like an anesthesia for our life,
Exactly.
and all that trials and tribulations can pass. He says, can we say that it is better to ask Swami to give us the strength to endure the effect rather than get rid of the effect to postpone the experience?
Mm,
Actually, what my learning has been from Bhagwan is that prarabdha needs to be fulfilled. Whether it is on my body or any other body, the karma has to work. All our rishis and all our saints, including Bhagwan Baba, are known to take the pain of other devotees on their body. So prarabdha is like that. So once we are aware of it, then we will not even ask him to take our pain.
exactly.
Rather, we just pray that we remain in his thought, and naturally the whole trouble can go. So,
Exactly.
brother, that's what I would remind that prarabdha has to take care. Now we need an anesthesia. That's it. We can pass on our blame to somebody. He is more willing to do that. But once you reach that, in his proximity, you realize that it's not. You won't feel like giving it to him.
Exactly.
Okay. So, okay. So that's karma. I like that. It's a very beautiful. Actually, so much can be discussed in these things.
Mm,
Sometimes I feel this karma should become like a part of curriculum for children. Everybody should understand how these karmas work and how we are bound by these
Totally.
things. Okay, here he talks about antakarna. I'm admiring Ram Gita for that. Antakarna, we know that, mana buddhi chitta ahankara
Mm.
in an instrument. I find the definitions which he has given here in Ram Gita is beautiful in a very precise way. It says, Manas is the thinking faculty whose function is investigation.
Investigation.
Interesting, no? So,
Totally.
Manas is the thinking faculty whose function is investigation. So, if Manas is not used for investigation, inquiry, then we are wasting it. And
Hmm.
Buddhi is the determinative faculty whose function is judgment.
Judgment.
So, if we are Buddhiman, Buddhi, then we have to judge. And the judgmental attitude is not there. This is like a judging in a corrective way. So,
Judging in the
determinative
sense
faculty,
discrimination, right? Discriminating
discriminative.
between.
Yes. Buddhi is a determinative faculty whose function is judgment. And ahankara is the egotistic faculty whose function is lower self conscious.
Consciousness.
Egotistic faculty whose function is lower self consciousness.
Yeah. So here I would like to remind everyone of the lower self consciousness that we spoke about when we began this topic, actually, that the ego is of two types: the lower ego and the higher ego. The lower ego, which finally dies down into with jnana, and basically the higher form of ego, which then goes on towards the aham brahmasmi aspect, right? So this is the lower self consciousness we are talking about, which slowly also dissipates as we grow spiritually. That is.
So it's an I-ness faculty of the
Mm,
supreme aham tattva.
yes.
Okay, and the chitta is a retentive faculty whose function is to store up experiences. So chitta vritti nirodhaka. So chitta is that. So it's part of antakarna. So that is where I think the last part of Videha Mukti is there, no? So when the impressions disappear from the chitta and you become
Mm,
pure.
exactly.
So this is the beauty of
Ram.
the antakarna. And there he gives few more definitions, which I like it very much. Look at this, avyakta. Avyakta, we know that so far that it is a concept of God, one who cannot be explained. That part of that divinity was explained by that was a divinity which was sorry. So Avyakta, look at he says the primordial invisible element or productive principle, the primary germ of nature. So when we talk about avyakta, we think that it is that which cannot be explained, which cannot be expressed, that aspect of divinity. But look how in Ram Gita is explained. It is a primordial invisible element or productive principle, the primary germ of nature.
Germ of nature.
Isn't it fantastic?
Oh, beautiful.
Hey, he's asking, is buddhi synonym with intellect? Buddhi synonym with intellect.
So again, intellect. What do you mean by intellect, right? Because by definition, right, these Sanskrit terms have a particular definition that we have already shared. So again, intellect. So in many spiritual texts that we normally translate to English, buddhi is always translated to intellect only. Okay. uh, Sometimes the vijnana is also translated to intellect, but here these things should not be confused. So buddhi very clearly is the aspect of the mind which allows you to discriminate about what is good and what is bad. So what is good and bad in all kinds of things. Okay. So I mean, good for the body, good for the mind, good for the spiritual well-being, and so on, right? Any kind of good and bad. So the buddhi is that aspect which discriminates and tells you that you should do a particular action or not do a particular action also.
You can, I
So
think,
that's why judgment.
English may, yeah, intellect is the closest one to buddhi. Yes, you can say
Yeah.
that. Right,
Yes.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's okay.
Yeah. No, but I just wanted to call out
So
that,
that is Avyakta, that is Vikshepa.
I just wanted to call out that we shouldn't confuse it with vijnana, which is used in in the Bhruguvalli and all. There is vijnana that is also called intellect many times, right? So
Uh,
we should make a difference there. Yeah, yeah, brother, please
so
continue. Sorry.
Vikshepa is, he's explaining these concepts which are basically, what obstructs the whole
Hmm,
being. And there is Vikshepa is a projection, Buddhi Vikshepa we call it, right? And the
hmm,
Maya is the projective power of illusion, and Avarna, that which veils the real nature of things. Now imagine all of that is taught to Hanuman, and at this point of time, and I think that will be interesting for everybody to note. At this point of time, Sri Ram blesses Hanuman and says, "May after giving all of this, he explains and all that. Now he tells Hanuman. So it's a very it's a big eye opener for me, because we have already always looked at Lord Hanuman as the supreme being, with amazing powers and all that. And imagine how difficult taskmaster Sri Ram must be, that now he's giving Hanuman that blessing
of
that
Jivan Mukti.
Hanuman soon attain Jivan Mukti state. So, which means Hanuman was not supposed to have Jivan Mukti at this stage also. And then now he will teach him Videha Mukti. So, all these discussions which Ram is doing with Hanuman, and I find it very fascinating in a way. And when I look at it, our life, and we feel that, it is so difficult even to comprehend. And on one hand, we realize that by associating ourselves, or by association of the avatar and other spiritual masters, we get these experiences little bit to share and to talk about, to discuss it. Imagine Lord Hanuman is now getting a blessing of being a Jivan Mukta,
Jivan.
not even Vede Mukta. And we can safely say that, because Sri Hanuman was not an ordinary soul. So for him, the the listening and the transformational stage can be said to be immediate.
Hmm.
So the moment he receives it, it gets translated into his experience. So unlike us, that we keep hearing and nothing happens, we have to practice it. For him, listening and practicing was kind of in the same phase of it. So very well we
Hmm.
can say that at this stage, Hanuman achieves Jivan Mukta stage. Can you imagine that? It is mind-boggling, right? From
Yeah.
that perspective, I look at it. He teaches him about the Atma, about Manas, Karna, Karma, and all that. And now we are ready for Jivan Mukta. So very interesting, 6 stages of Samadhi, how to look at them. And I always find it interesting, like how Bhagavan has trained all, and with association of avatars, how all of these things start becoming, at least appears to be, within our reach, right?
We are at least even
Sanjesh?
able to talk about it,
Otherwise,
right? Otherwise, these concepts
we
are
are
so
able,
elevated that you can't just imagine. You can't even imagine them.
So that's why I said it's like, when you start thinking about it, then you realize that, my God, we are able to at least share and
Exactly.
feel that we are understanding a little bit. That is also amazing grace of Bhagwan. And rest is jargons, no doubt about it, how they classify
Yes.
it and all that. But interesting it is that in each one, we are able to find so much learning. And
One point of view I would like to share here, brother. Tyagaraja, in one of his kriti, he says, Guru leka yatuvanti guniki teliyaka podu. Meaning that uh, one could be, the best among people. He could be a guni, meaning that he could have the best, traits possible on this earth. But without a guru, one cannot know the truth. So here also we see that, although Hanuman is the best of the best of the best of the gunis, he is, being given this knowledge by a guru, that is Rama here. Okay. So without the grace of the guru, without the guru bestowing the spiritual knowledge, it is, I think, impossible to, for one to comprehend this kind of subtlety that it is.
one thing I can also add here is that, when I compare Ramagita, there is a stark difference. To Hanuman, he has taken through this, step by step journey. But to Lakshman, he has gone too direct.
Hmm.
And that also explains, the role they are playing. I would say, I can only say that way. I can't say that Hanumanji was anything less or more or something
Not
like
at
that.
all. Not at all.
But it is the role they are playing, so they have a different approach. But Lakshman, being Lakshman, as the same, caliber, he didn't require this kind of step by step progression. So for him, in one first paragraph itself, Ram summarizes all the karmas. So it's the 64, 62, I think, verses, and it's done.
Hmm.
Here it's a full book, you know, and Hanuman is taking us through journey. So that is why probably when Bhagwan said that I have made Hanuman's statue on the hilltop for you all to get inspired to learn how a Vanara can become divine. So because Hanuman's purpose of life was to show how anybody can reach the divinity.
Hmm.
So Lord Hanuman has gone through all the turbulations of a sadhaka to
Hmm.
reach there. Whereas Lakshman by default was born with that.
Yes.
See, Lakshman, like, we have noted, we have also discussed that, how Hanuman had problem, in accepting certain things, and he gets scolded by Ram and all that. But whereas Lakshman never deviated. Even the default version of Ram telling Lakshman, make a kutia anywhere, Lakshman immediately catches it. So imagine the awareness of Lakshman was to that supreme self. Bharat, similar. They never deviated. So you
Not
have a
at all.
character like Lakshman and Bharat who have never deviated from their path. And then you have, that's why I think it is difficult for a normal aspirant to imitate Lakshman or Bharat, or for that matter, Shatrughan also.
Yeah.
Because they were not ordinary beings whom we can follow. Whereas in this galaxy of stalwarts, you have Hanumanji, who could be, who has led him on himself at that life journey where it is imitable, or it can be copied or can be learnt by any
Hmm.
aspirant. So Hanuman's life becomes interesting from that perspective also, if I may add. Do you agree?
Totally, totally, brother. In
Right?
fact,
So
I am reminded of Swami, telling us in one of the Trai sessions, Swami, started the topic of Ramayana. He mentioned, so he was talking about how Lakshmana cut off the ears and nose of Shurpanakha. Okay. they were so much in sync, right, Rama and Lakshmana, that then when Shurpanakha first comes to Rama, he, he says that, okay, and she asks Rama that, you are so handsome, I want to marry you. To that Rama replies, see, in this life I am a ekapatni vrata, so I have Sita who is my wife, and I will marry only once, and I will not marry any other woman. So there is Lakshmana. Please go to him and ask. Okay. Then she goes to Lakshmana, and she repeats the whole story, and then Lakshmana says, no, no. See, I am basically a servant of the Lord. So if you marry me, you are going to be a servant as well. So why do you want to take a servant's life, right? So this is what Lakshmana says, and then he looks at Rama. Rama, he looks at Lakshmana and he just shows him Akasha, or space, right? By this particular, by this one gesture, what Lakshmana understands is,
Gesture.
he understands that it's the space aspect that he's talking about. The one of the aspects, or the attributes of space, is sound, and then the sound is heard by us in our ears, and therefore he cuts off the ears and the nose. So look at how beautifully they are in sync. It's just a gesture that happened, and there is seamless communication. Do you need more encryption than this in life, really?
No, see, that
So
is Sukshma Buddhi. That is Sukshma Buddhi of
exactly,
Lakshman.
which
That is
is
why
why
Lakshman was
the
Lakshman.
Gita, no, which is why the Gita that was given to him was in lesser number of words and so direct, right? He's the sukshma. That's the sukshma buddhi aspect. But also, Hanuman is also a sukshma buddhi, no doubt about it. However, these there are different forms of Gitas, again, like we mentioned earlier, for different types of sadhakas. Some people
No,
need it.
that's why we said, no, in Ramayana, when we are exploring Ramayana, we realize that it is a story of so many different stages of people, and you can
Yes,
example from all sides. So
yes,
here, everybody is living in a maryada. So whatever role
yes.
has been prescribed for them in their maryada, they are all playing it.
They're
So
playing it.
Hanumanji had this role, and he's playing it. So perfection. The same Hanuman is worshipped. Same Hanuman is adored for different things, and the same Hanuman behaves as if he's an ordinary person.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is very difficult to, and for a common mind to really comprehend why he should behave like that. On one hand, he's Rudra avatar. On the other hand, he behaves like a ordinary monkey. So there's a switch, and it's easy to get lost in these exhibits. But we have to be very vigilant. That's why I keep repeating. In my opinion, is that they all are playing their Maryada roles.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
thank God for it that Hanumanji had to play a role by which we could learn something. Otherwise, if it was
Hmm.
only like people like Lakshman and Shatrughan and Bharat, then it is difficult to learn because Lakshman starts only at that high level. You
Yes.
know, he starts there. He's always in Nisankalp Samadhi.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's established in Nisankalpa Samadhi. So
Exactly.
imagine what kind of caliber Lakshmanji has.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't even touch him. We cannot comprehend him.
Hmm.
It's so difficult to even imitate him.
Hmm.
But whereas Hanuman, when he starts off from Videha Mukti, from that Sakar root, that is relatable to us.
That's
That he
relatable.
starts from there and he takes us step by step journey towards that. It makes it interesting. Brother
Yeah.
Dudi, just close with this last question he has mentioned. Sir,
Hmm.
Lord Hanuman learned from the sun god, is also a guru god. Like 8 periods in on day classes, so also one period is sun god. What does it mean? Brother, your question is slightly confusing here. Oh, you are saying that sun god is one of the periods? I don't think so. Eh, See, these are all different things, but the fact is that sun god, the Lord of Sun was Hanuman's guru, which means whatever the what I feel, Sai Jagdish can help me further. What I feel is that the sun is an epitome of the whole source of creation.
Totally.
So if you know sun, then you know the whole creation.
Yeah.
So if the guru becomes sun, that means you are learning from the source, and the student like Hanuman had got the whole knowledge of the creation of the source from the source.
Yes.
And that is what, so if you take it in the period wise, that how many 8 periods in the classroom and sun god was one teacher, it won't make sense like that. Neither Hanuman was that kind of student, nor sun god is like a teacher. So they are
Mhm.
gurus, and you are approaching the source to learn from him.
Exactly.
And so it's basically a meditative learning from, if I may use it. Jagdish, you want to add something for this question?
Yes, brother. Two aspects here that I would like to add. So, firstly, meditation. So, like brother just mentioned about meditation, right? So, many aspects of meditation talk about the sun. Actually, you do a sandhya vandanam, right? So, many people do sandhya vandanam. So, even in sandhya vandana, the prescribed way of meditation is that mother guy first the sun should be meditated upon. Okay, either in the hridaya chakra or in various chakras. Basically, let's not go there, but the sun should be meditated upon, and within the surya mandala, mother gayatri should be meditated upon. This is the way the sandhya vandana meditation goes. So also, uh, in in rudram we have asau yastamro aruna uta babhrusu mangalaha, right? So there also, the prescription that is being given to the sadhaka is that you should meditate on the sun, and within the sun you should meditate on the form of shiva or of vishnu or of various deities. So so that in a way is, meditation on the sun, and therefore that is one of the aspects. But here, they have directly mentioned that sun himself was his guru. So so therefore he was probably directly meditating on the sun, and he was getting the knowledge from him. Okay, that is one aspect of it. In the second question, if I understand right, if all is also a guru god, right? So to talk about this aspect, there is I would like to quote the dakshinamurti sutra here, which mentions ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vibhagine vyomavad vyapta dehaya dakshinamurtaye namaha, it says, which means the divine. So just by the avidya that we were talking about some time back, right? Here they are attributing that avidya to dakshinamurti, and he's saying that he, by his uh, mm, by by bestowing avidya, what he does is he he divides it into three. What does he divide it into? He divides it into ishvaraha, which is god. He says god is separate, guru is separate, and atma, I am separate. So I am there, Guru is there, and God is there. Who does this separation? It is by the avidya that the Lord gives. This separation of three has been done. But again, they are saying he's Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaya Namaha. Okay, Vyoma is basically the space. Uh, Dakshinamurti is actually the actual form of Dakshinamurti is as big as the whole universe. It is larger than the whole universe, maybe. Okay, Atyatishtat Dashangulam, they say, right? So it is that, and then it is beyond also. Okay, so like that, he is all encompassing, and it is his form that exists as Ishvara, as Guru, as Atma. Okay, there is not a difference of different so there is no duality. Let us stop there, right? So there is the Advaita Bhava which they are mentioning about. Okay, so that's what I understood from this question. If probably I didn't answer to the best, maybe please re-ask and we can talk about other aspects of
No
this.
problem. Okay, so I think we'll close for today. Uh, these topics are really different. So we can't. We have to listen to it. We have to read it and then contemplate on it. So I would only encourage all the viewers also to please join us. And if you are interested, I could even share with you a PDF file of Ram Gita, and they can always, you can read it together. So that will be another joy for all of you. So because it's a joy to share these things, and more we are reading, and we are in fact correlating with what we have learned from Bhagwan, and that makes it very interesting. Because Swami did touch upon these areas, and he has given Gita himself. So hopefully a day will, maybe next time we can even have Swami's Gita, and that would be more interesting to see how he has presented this whole concept and truth according to that. So I thank you all for wonderful participation. Sai Jagdish, Sai Ram Bhaiya, you want to have any final
Thank you,
words?
brother.
We close it. Sai, over to you.
I would also like to thank you bhaiya, and all of the viewers also, because this is such a deep discussion. I think if one person were to just sit down and read the whole of it, it would become so much more difficult. But I think in samashti, when we are doing this kind of an effort, and different thoughts also come, I think in this there is parameshti, the paramatma is there in this samashti. So
True.
which is also helping us in a way to comprehend some of these very difficult topics. Not that we are completely able to comprehend and put them in practice, but our prayer to Swami should be that Sharana, we surrender to you, Swami. So please take us through these various aspects, and be always so benevolent on us, like only you are, Swami.
Thank you. So please keep sharing your thoughts and suggestions, and the video will be available on the channel. Thank you very much. Sai Ram.
Sairam, Sairam.